thought to myself, I'm glad my mom taught me to be, to be cordial to everyone, even if they were not cordial to me, because in those types of, relationships form, you do see opposing counsel again sometimes, and you may see them interviewed in this nominations process. So if you have any comments about that as well, we'd be interested. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Holly. And thanks to the Women's Bar Association for
You need your mic.
There are some things that are so difficult. There we go. All right, I think I'm all hooked up now. Thank you, Holly. Thank you to the Women's Bar Association for hosting the panel, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of it. I sat and listened to Grace speak about the Judicial Nomination Commission. I had the pleasure and the privilege of serving on the commission as I was actually put there by the D.C. Bar, and I served from 2002 through 2007. So I was there a little bit before Grace served on the commission, but one of the interesting things about it is that as I listened to Grace speak, I realized that the commission, as time goes on, continues to espouse and to have certain basic principles that's important to the commission, and I think that makes the commission's work as successful as it is. I enjoyed thoroughly my time on the commission, and I think there were several reasons why I enjoyed it. One is that not only obviously the work of the commission is very, very important, but you have the opportunity to do that work with a group of people, and as Grace mentioned, it's a 7-member commission who were very committed to what it is the mission of that commission is. Passionate about it, committed to it, committed to making sure that we each individually and all of us collectively did the best job that we possibly could in making recommendations for the best people that we thought would fit the bill as judges in the Superior Court and in the Court of Appeals. In addition to that, I enjoyed the fact that the work of the commission in the sense of politics, party affiliation, it was apolitical. I don't think that I ever knew in the 6 years that I was a member of that commission whether somebody was a Democrat or whether somebody was a Republican. And for me, it didn't matter. Because my focus, and I think the focus of the other members of the commission, was on trying to decide whether the individuals who came before the commission were people who we wanted to recommend to the president to be judges of the Superior Court or the Court of Appeals. That was the focus. It didn't matter what your political affiliation happened to be. And I enjoyed that. And I thought that was important to the work of the commission. In addition, I think Grace mentioned transparency. That was another thing that I enjoyed about being on the commission. The work of the commission was very open. Grace talked about the website, things being on the website. The application is there. I went on and sat on a number of panels where we talked about the work of the commission, how we did what we did. And I never once felt inhibited in terms of talking about how we got from point A to point B, and how we sat around the table and deliberated, and the types of factors that we were looking for, and how we came about our votes, how we conducted the process to get to the votes. It was completely transparent. And I felt proud to be on a commission where I didn't have a fear of going out and saying, this is what we did, and this is how we did it. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. One of the things that was quite apparent from serving on the commission was what a tremendously talented group of attorneys that we have in the District of Columbia. The applications that we saw, it was an abundance of blessings in the sense of we never struggled to find people who we thought were well qualified for the position of judge. And that's what made it tough for applicants. That's what made it so very important to make sure that we got out the message to potential applicants that if you applied once and you didn't make it, don't assume that you would never make it in terms of getting through the process. The competition was indeed stiff. That was something that we thought was something to be very proud of, and to be proud of a bar here in the District of Columbia that fielded so many talented people, so many people who could be very capable and very good judges here in the district. So I enjoyed the opportunity to have that experience. In terms of endorsements and how the commission viewed endorsements, I think in my experience, the commission viewed endorsements very seriously. References came from a variety of sources, including bar associations. And we always hoped that bar associations would take their endorsements as seriously as Holly has mentioned that the Women's Bar Association takes its endorsements. It wasn't enough just to get an endorsement. We wanted endorsements from entities or individuals who knew the applicants. So it wasn't just a matter of sending in as many endorsements as you could send in. It wasn't just a matter of going to the highest official that you knew and saying, I'm applying for a judgeship, please give me an endorsement. It was about getting endorsements from either organizations who had taken the time to really screen the people who were seeking the endorsements from that organization, and then deliberated carefully and then made the endorsement based on that organization's considered judgment with respect to whether the particular individual really was qualified and would make a good judge. When we looked at endorsements or references from others, we looked at who they came from. We looked at the nature of the endorsement. Was this just sort of a boilerplate kind of general letter? Was it really coming from a source, from an individual or entity who knew this person, who can speak to this person's, whether it was speaking to the person's qualifications in the sense of their judgment or their temperament or their integrity? Was this really coming from a source that we could rely on as really saying something that we could credit based on personal information or personal knowledge about that information, about that person? So I emphasize the fact that endorsements are very important, but I think the commission looks at the endorsements very carefully. And credits those endorsements based on how we believe, how valuable we believe those endorsements really are. Opposing counsel. It was sometimes the case, for example, that a prosecutor might get an endorsement from defense counsel or vice versa. That was a big deal. There is obviously lots of tension that goes on, in the professional world between prosecutors and defense counsel, between plaintiff's counsel and defense counsel. And when you had somebody on the other side who was willing to come forward and say, I recommended this person, that carried a lot of weight. And it carried a lot of weight because there are certain factors that you think about when you're thinking about a judge, and included among them would be fairness. And oftentimes you would have maybe a prosecutor recommending a defense counsel or vice versa, talking about the fact that while the other side was zealous in the representation of the client, they were fair, they had a good demeanor about them, their temperament was good. Those are the kinds of qualities that's sometimes difficult to assess, that you could find from things like getting an endorsement from the other side. And that's why those kinds of endorsements are viewed with favor by the commission, because you have an opportunity to look at those sort of intangible kinds of qualities that you might not otherwise be able to really put your arms around, and you get it from